Hello and welcome to Brainy Gardener. Today it is all about how to grow and care for the Agave macroacantha. Agave macroacantha, common name Black Spined Agave, is a beautiful, small, black spined agave. The leaves are green and toothed with an acuminate tip. It is a slow-growing plant and will reach up to 2 feet tall in its mature state. Its thick blue-gray leaves form a compact rosette. Each leaf terminates to a sharp terminal spine. This spine is brown or black and earned the plant its common name, Black Spined Agave. The contrast between the dark green leaves and the black spines is striking. The flowers are typically green with purple markings. They appear at the top of a long stalk. These plants are slow-growing and can take up to 15 years to reach maturity. Agave macroacantha is an easy-to-care-for succulent well-suited for indoor or outdoor use. This agave is drought-tolerant once established and requires little watering, making it ideal for beginner gardeners. Agave macroacantha thrives in full sun. However, it is an adaptable plant that can take partial shade as well, especially if you grow it indoors or in a greenhouse. Some afternoon shade may be necessary for areas with hot summers and intense sunlight to prevent the plant from getting sunburns. The black spined agave requires the same amount of water as other succulents. The soak and dry strategy is recommended. This calls for letting the soil entirely dry out in between watering. It is a succulent plant, as such you need to be careful about the watering strategy. Overwatering can cause rot, so letting the soil dry out between watering is essential. It's best to water your agave when the soil is bone dry. Check the soil for dryness by digging around with your fingers. During hot summers, you might need to increase the watering cadence somewhat to combat the heavy evaporation. The reverse is true in the winter. Agave macroacantha prefers a temperature range between 55 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Although it can tolerate a wide range of temperatures, but it's best to keep it above 50 degrees Fahrenheit. It is not a cold-hardy plant, so if you are living in a zone that gets colder than 30 degrees Fahrenheit, it's best to plant this agave in a container that can be brought indoors when required. If you are planting indoors, place it in a location where it can get a lot of sunlight, such as near a southern-facing window. In addition to temperature, humidity is important for succulents. They don't want to be kept in an overly humid environment because this can cause rot or mold. Agaves are very low-maintenance plants and don't typically need fertilizer. However, if you want to fertilize, do so sparingly and only once a year in the early spring when plants are actively growing. Slow-release, balanced fertilizers are the best solution for these types of plants. Agave macroacantha can be propagated by offsets in seeds. To start the process using offsets, select a mature and healthy plant. Carefully remove the offshoot from the mother plant. Wash off all dirt and allow it to callus over for a few days, and let the wounds heal. Get a container that has drainage holes at the bottom. Arrange a well-balanced potting soil mix that drains well. Place the plant in a new container and fill the soil mix around it. Select a location where it will receive plenty of sun for at least 6 hours each day. Check the surface of the soil regularly. When dry, water the new plant thoroughly. After a couple of weeks, the offset will start growing in its new home. When using seeds, sow the seeds below a thin layer of well-draining soil in a shallow pot. Put the container in a sunny spot and water it until the soil is moist. Allow at least 1 month for germination to occur before transplanting the seedlings into larger pots or directly into the ground. Agave macroacantha are hardy plants that can be left in their pots for years. They don't need repotting unless they become too big or if you want to change the size or type of pot. The best repotting time is when the plant is actively growing in the spring. However, you can also repot in early fall to encourage new growth before winter sets in. Choose a container larger than the current one. Clay pots are recommended, but plastic pots with drainage holes can also work. Use light, fast-draining potting soil with a mix of organic compost and perlite to improve drainage and aeration. Choose a sunny location that doesn't get direct sun in the afternoon, as this might cause the leaves to burn. Loosen up the roots with a garden spade or shovel, and then take out the root ball and remove any dead leaves. Place the plant in the new container and fill it up with the pre-selected potting soil. Water to help the plant settle in. Agave macroacantha is mildly toxic to humans and animals. The plant sap causes skin irritation and dermatitis in sensitive individuals. These plants are susceptible to agave snout weevils, scale insects and slugs, and snails. Agave snout weevil is the most common pest of agave macroacantha. This small beetle burrows into the plant, causing damage to the stem and root system. The adult weevil lays eggs around the plant, multiplying their number. When hatched, the larvae bore into new plants and fed on their sap. Scale insects are small, immobile insects that feed on the plant sap by sucking it out. They are usually found on stems and leaves, but can also be seen on the surface or emerging from wounds. You can rub neem oil on the affected parts to deal with them. Slugs and snails are common for gardeners and can cause considerable damage. They chew on the leaves and stems of your plants, leaving holes behind them. Use traps to bait and catch them. Frostburn, sunburn, and root rot are the most common problems of these plants. Frostburn occurs when the plant is exposed to freezing weather and the leaves are damaged. Remove the affected leaves and wait for fresh growth. Don't water your succulent until new growth appears. Agaves are prone to sunburn, especially when they're young. When you notice this problem, move the plant to a shadier area or wrap it in a shade cloth. Root rot is a big issue for agaves. It can be caused by poor drainage or soil that's too wet. Add mulch to help with drainage and ensure you regularly water your plants. Then remove the affected roots and replant the succulent.